السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على النبي الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين. Dear brothers and sisters, today I'll be talking about the concept of wealth. So, this introduction on wealth management will cover a few components. First, um, I'll talk about the wealth, what is wealth from the conventional perspective, and then I'll talk about wealth from Islamic perspective, what is wealth from Sharia scholars' perspective, and then I'll talk about the scope of wealth management, what is wealth management is all about, and how is it different from other types of management like investment management or asset management or financial management. And finally, I'll give you an overview of the status of wealth in the world. So first, let's talk about wealth from the conventional perspective. So when you say what is wealth from the conventional economic and finance perspective, what is wealth? When we ask this question, so usually the simple answer that we can get it is something has a value. But if we talk about wealth, it will be very important that we go back to Adam Smith, the father of the economics, that when he defined wealth and he talk about when he talk about wealth, he said, well, the uniform, constant and uninterrupted effort of every man to better his condition is the principle from which public and national as well as private opulence is originally derived, because from that principle comes the accumulation of wealth. So here, Adam Smith mentioned that the wealth is needed. People always look for wealth just to make his situation better. It is just to fulfill his interests. Okay, so there comes the wealth. And so here the word opulence is a wealth, or is a great wealth. So the accumulation of the wealth to gather more wealth, it comes actually from people's interest to better his situation. So when he talk about wealth, he mentioned, so we need to go back to Adam Smith, this definition, okay, where so we can see that he talked about wealth from the perspective where why people want wealth, and people want wealth because they want to have a better situation, and from that principle or from that interest, people try to accumulate more wealth. Okay, but from coming back from the Adam Smith, when we ask anyone, or if we think what is wealth, so the simple answer we can get that it is just a stock of item of economic value comprising money, movable or immovable property. So generally anything which has an economic value, that is wealth to all of us. However, so whatever the asset, or money or whatever, so or movable or immovable properties, they are wealth. At the same time, in the modern day, something like we call like service, okay, or we can call intangible assets are also become popular, like healthcare, education, okay, like the service to get pension, for example. So all these are also can be considered as wealth, even though they are not material, but they are, we can say, intangible assets that also provides benefits to people. So when we look deep into the wealth, okay, what is the wealth is all about? So we can see wealth is when people save something. Okay, when someone saved his income from his income. Okay, when someone save an asset, so that is the wealth. Okay, many may get confused that income is wealth, but income is not and wealth. Income is just a flow. So from the income we consume, okay, after the consumption what is left, so that is the net worth. And also when we consume, or maybe sometimes we have liabilities, we borrow, so we need to deduct that. So uh, the wealth can be translated as net worth. Okay, that is our saving, and which is our total assets minus the our liabilities, and what is left after the consumption. So that is generally what we understood by wealth, especially in finance. So here again, the Adam Smith, when he define, however, so Adam Smith has a different position when he defined the wealth. He said it is the annual produce of the land and labor of the society. So he focused more on the production. Okay, what a land can produce. Okay, so the produce refers to something that fulfills one's needs or wants, and therefore provides some utility. So why produce is important? Because it also gives some utility to people. It can fulfill people's needs and does not extend, for example, to the idea of surplus over consumption making investment. While the later economists or the scholars of finance, they have defined wealth as a net worth or surplus or saving, but Adam Smith, he defined wealth is something that can give benefit to people, and that is the production. So I think probably the modern economy where they measure the development of a country, they refer to the GDP or the gross domestic product, which is the production, the annual production of the country. So that is based on this Adam Smith theory. Well, uh, this is his definition is important, but at the same time, the later economists and the contemporary scholars, they also agree that it's not only the produce. At the same time, what we save, that the assets that we have, uh, those are also the wealth. And then when in the conventional economics, when they talk about wealth, they also talk about the concentration of wealth. Okay, it is also a problem for the human society that the wealth belongs to only a group of people, and it is far from the vast majority of the people, which is a problem in human society. It has been proven time and again in history that disparity of wealth led to revolution and the confiscation of wealth by the indigent poor. So the crisis, the fight or the war that happened between in the history, one of the main reason was the disparity or the far difference between the people in terms of their wealth, the difference between the higher class and the low class, the lower class of people in terms of the wealth. Here, the Adam Smith, he also pointed out the inequality of the wealth. He said, wherever there is great property, there is great inequality. For one very rich man, there must be at least 500 poor, and the affluence of the few supposes the indigence of the many. The affluence of the rich excites the indignation of the poor, who are often both driven by want and prompted by envy to invade his possessions. So, of course, he this 500 poor, he just given an example and his statement should not be taken as it is. But what we can understood is that whenever there is a great wealth, uh, there is a rich person, there will be a lot of poor. And then when there is and the affluence of the rich, it will upset the poor people, and because of they are upset, and maybe sometimes because of their greediness they will invade the possession. So what he's saying that in order to um, make the society in to keep in harmony, it we need to make sure there is a no there is no great inequality in the society. Rather, we try to, of course, it is not possible to have equality, but we try to reduce the great inequality of wealth. And here uh, comes the philanthropy, or where we may think about the redistribution of the wealth, okay, so that the poor can get something from the richness of the rich. Okay, so when we also talk about wealth, the richness, okay, is also something relative, where someone is rich in one place can be poor in another. For example, if someone um, earns maybe, let's say, someone earns 4,000 ringgits Malaysia, might be rich in Terengganu, but he might be poor in Kuala Lumpur, for example. Or someone earns 5,000 ringgit Malaysia, he might be rich in Terengganu, but he might be poor in Singapore, for example. So one it is to be rich or to be poor is also relative, and it also depends on also on the society and the community. There are three fundamental characteristics of wealth. So based on what we have discussed, in order to understand what is wealth, the wealth should have three criteria. The first is wealth must grow, the growth criterion, that if we have wealth, if we invest it, it will grow. Okay, it will bring more wealth. So that is the first criteria. And second is consumption criteria, that wealth must generate consumption benefits to the owners. Means when we have wealth, it must provide utility, some kind of benefit to the people. And third is the marginal value criterion, that wealth should be something which is scarce, which is limited. If the wealth is a lot, it's not wealth. For example, if something is available everywhere, it's easy to get, and is in abundance, it might not be considered as wealth. For example, yeah, like the seawater, okay, is, of course, in one perspective it is also uh, valuable, but in general people do not think is as wealth, because it is in abundance, is a lot, or like sand or earth, for example. Now, there are three important consideration in accumulating wealth. When someone accumulates he wealth, so what is his purpose? Usually for three reasons. Is to consume for himself, and to save okay, from that, and then to invest for, so that he can get more in the future. Like just giving let us give an example of a farmer. So he harvests, so he harvests let's say rice or palm oil, for example, just for to consume first, and then he saves. So that why he saves? Because he wants to maybe sow the seeds in the next year. Okay, he wants to increase more production. So the saving uh, is also important. So the first is consumption. After the consumption, people save so that he can generate more. Okay, through investment. investing is to increase. So in order to increase our wealth, we need to save and invest. So these are the three important consideration to accumulate wealth. People want wealth because they need consumption, and after consumption they save. Usually like 25% of people's income in the world they save. Okay, uh, they save too, and when they save they invest so that they can have income, or um, when they are retired, or they can increase their income in the subsequent years. Now, so uh, in the conventional perspective, when we look at wealth, so why wealth is something important in our life? Okay, what wealth has to do with us? So um, wealth is important for people because it plays a very important role because especially in the modern day context where nothing is free. So in order to have education, in order to have food and drink, we need to have wealth. And people have developed various means to generate wealth. So all of us, we do different types of activities, to increase wealth. So so the generation of wealth can be done through through production. Some, maybe we have factory, we have, so we enforce people work so that we produce some products and we sell it, we get uh, wealth. Some, through production efficiency, with the involvement of technology, we use more products so that we can have more wealth. And resource endowment, some of us, we get wealth through endowments, through donations, or through our the gifts from our parents. Some, they get wealth from their inventions, innovations, like the we can see the innovation of technology lately, like Google, Facebook, or even the Tesla, the electric car. So they have gained their wealth because of their innovation mostly. And and also we also need capital. So in any business or production, we of course we need capital to generate more wealth. So here, from the economic, so mostly the discussion here is from economic and finance perspective. What is the definition of wealth, and how the wealth is seen in the conventional perspective? Okay. And another important factor in the conventional perspective is that wealth is limited, especially in the short term, means in a given time. Okay, all of us, for us, the wealth is limited and it is in scarce. So therefore, there is competition among people to get the wealth. It is in because there is a scarcity of wealth. It is limited, so we need to make, in order to so all are maximizing their production so that they can have more wealth. Okay, so now we look at the wealth from the Islamic perspective. Okay, so if we look at the definition of wealth in the Islamic texts or Islamic sources, so we can see there are three important concepts. One is like mal, another one is a risk, another one is mata. Okay, so we can learn from like fiqh muamalat. Ismal is something which has a value among the people, and something which is permissible, which can be either is a corporal, is an physical asset, or it can be a user frank, means service or benefit, or any kind of rights. Okay, like royalty. Okay, so this is quite similar with the conventional. Of course, there are some differences among the scholars, but this is the most accepted definition, okay, where something's property which is valuable and it is permissible in the society, and it can be either a physical asset or it can be some kind of service, like access to healthcare, for example, and the rights, okay, the right to get pension, right to get healthcare, all this. And then there are two other related concepts, which are risk and mata. Okay, risk is very broad concept, and it has some kind of spirituality in it. Okay, so we can see the wealth in Islam can be seen from two perspectives. First, from the material or physical wealth, like money and lands, that, and in Islam recognizes something spiritual wealth, like faith, the knowledge, the good deeds, righteous women, okay, health, children, free time. All these are considered wealth. Okay, and we can see some of the Quranic verses, like uh, here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Oh, who you believe, shall I lead you to a bargain that will save you from the grievous penalty, that you believe in Allah and His Messenger, and that you strive in the cause of Allah with your property and yourself. That will be best for you if you know." Okay. هل أدلكم على تجارة تنجيكم من عذاب أليم تؤمنون بالله ورسوله وتجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم. That's the best trade, that here Allah said the best trade is if we believe in Allah, okay, and His Messenger, and if we fight in the path of Allah, we do mujahada, we do jihad in the path of Allah with our property and our life. So this is the best reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be giving to us. So this is a spiritual wealth where we can get. And the second is it's the hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Envy is permitted only in two cases: a man to whom Allah gives wealth and he disposes of it rightfully, and a man to whom Allah gives wisdom which he applies and teaches it." So if a person spends his wealth in a rightful way, so it is also something, it's a wealth, it's a spiritual wealth, according to Sharia. And if even if someone gets wisdom, gets knowledge, is also considered as wealth. Uh, and this verse it's includes a lot of things as well. It's beautified for people is the love of that which they desire of women and sons. So to have a righteous woman is also a wealth. To have righteous sons also wealth. Heaped up sums of gold and silver, fine branded horses and cattle and tilled land. So all this fertile land and branded horses, the transportation, so it can be uh, given a modern context, like transportations, good wives, neighbors. All these are considered wealth in Islam. Okay, the following hadith is said, "This world is but provisions, and there is no provision in this world better than a righteous wife." So to have a righteous woman as wife is a one of the best kind of wealth that someone can have. And so we can see in Sharia, in Islam, along with the physical wealth, also the spiritual wealth is mentioned in many times, and it is also considered valuable. Um, so now, when we understood the concept of the wealth, what is wealth in Sharia, both physical and the material, we need to understand that all forms of wealth belongs to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. That whatever in the heavens and earth belong to the Allah, and Allah has the wealth in abundance. Okay, the wealth, the risk that Allah have, it is in abundance. However, Islam also agrees with the conventional concept that the wealth are limited, but it is limited in a given situation. It is relative, means people the scarcity of wealth is because of the man's inability to generate more wealth, or because uh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given them in proportion. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the best, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the wealth to in proportion. If Allah gives the wealth to everyone, then the world, the society will not be in order. If all become rich in the society, so who will be the cleaner, for example? If all become rich in the society, so who will be the cook in the restaurant, for example? So uh, the wealth is in abundance, and it belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it in proportion, so that's why it is also scarce in a given time and in a situation, uh, because Allah subhanahu, in order to keep the society in harmony, right? In order for the society to work smoothly. Now, this is very important in terms of the objective to have wealth. According to Islamic perspective, wealth is not a goal. Wealth is just a means. So if somebody gets and wealth, that is not the success of himself. However, it is a means to achieve success. If somebody can utilize the wealth where he can manage his wealth, then he can be successful, or he can achieve falah in the hereafter. So wealth does not hold a central position in the social matrix. Instead, it has been visualized as an instrument to lead life in accordance with the Sharia. So if someone gets wealth and he can um, manage it according to the Sharia, then he will be successful. So to get while many think, or in some societies, to have and wealth is everything. That's the success. However, in Islam, wealth is just a means to achieve our success. So it can be either, if we use the wealth well, we can be successful. If we don't, we may be a failure. So so before we go to the scope of wealth, so what we understood from both Islamic and conventional perspective is that wealth is something which is valuable, and it can generate income. It can give consumption or utility to the people, and it is mostly uh, an asset which is the net worth and after deducting our liabilities. So Islam also has a similar definition. How Islam also talks about spiritual wealth, okay, where for example, the wellness, the health is also wealth, and we can understood from even the richest person, the Apple's the CEO, uh, the late CEO of Apple, when he was in sick bed, and he mentioned that about that you can hire a lot of people uh, to work for you, but you cannot give them your sickness. You cannot give your suffering to them. So that's what's the different in Islamic perspective. And the second important element in Sharia is that wealth is not a goal, rather it is a means to achieve success. And finally, wealth, all the wealth belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and wealth are in abundance. However, it can be limited in a given time or situation, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us wealth in proportion. So now we look at the scope of wealth management. So we talk about what is the wealth management is all about. So when we talk about when that we are studying introduction to wealth management. So inshallah, in the subsequent chapters, I'll be showing the structure of what is the wealth management is all about. But here we want to see what the wealth management is in essence. Okay. So the wealth management is actually different from the money management. Okay, money management is just the actual day-to-day management of the portfolio, the money, the buying and selling of the shares. Okay, however, the wealth managers, they do not physically, buy and sell the shares, and no, rather it is more on planning to review. Okay, so typically develop the asset allocation model that is used in the investor's portfolio, but their job rarely includes the actual day-to-day management of the portfolio. So wealth management is more towards reviewing and setting the goals for the investment and planning. Okay, but wealth managers, they don't really do the everyday do actual management of the wealth, like buying the shares and selling it, and no, the wealth managers do not do that. It's the job of the money managers. However, sometimes uh, their jobs sometimes may be combined, but in essence they are different. And then wealth planning is also different from the financial planning. Okay, wealth planning is undertaken by the wealthy, for the rich people to plan their wealth, to have a lot of wealth. They are high net worth individuals, they have existing wealth, and so they more focus on the preservation and increase of the wealth, their investment of the wealth. So this is more active management. But financial planning is taken by everyone. If someone is rich or not, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't need existing wealth, or a lot of wealth. Okay, it is more a very a general planning, and it's a passive, while the wealth planning is more active. And then uh, the wealth planning is actually more towards the developing the client's plan of investment. Okay, what is his appetite, whether he wants a higher return, or he wants growth of his investment, and to implement and to review the client's plan. And in the past, the wealth planning used to be for usually short term, but now they more focus on to be for long term. And then wealth management is also different from the asset management. So asset management focuses on only the investment. Okay, to also to investment using the different types of asset classes. Okay, like equity, fixed income, real estate. Okay. However, the wealth management is not only about the investment of the assets. Rather, it includes a person's different types of situations related to his wealth, like the tax planning, the state of 408 and cash flows, and other things that is related to a high net worth person's life. And wealth management is also different from the investment management or planning. So investment is only focusing on the investment of the assets, more like asset management. However, the wealth management is beyond that. Is not only about investment of the assets or allocation of the assets. Rather, it also has uh, other planning like tax planning. It also has insurance, okay, or takaful planning, and also state planning, and also planning for the children's education, all under the wealth management. Okay, so after you understood what is the wealth management, so let us look at the global overview of wealth. Okay, what is the current situation of the global wealth, especially after the pandemic happened in the world. Okay, even though we have gone through the pandemic, but the global wealth increased in 2020. So if we based on the definition of the wealth, that is a net is a as a asset, physical asset, okay, or investment or saving that people have minus their liability. So based on that definition, if we add up all the wealth of all the households, and okay, and corporations. So it will be 418.3 trillion in the world in 2020, which is actually up 7.4% from the previous year. So that is the total wealth belong to the people of the world. And on average, every adult in the world uh, okay, has 79,952 US dollar, okay, which is roughly around 300,000 plus Malaysian ringgit. And in the world right now, there are 56 million USD millionaires, which is 1.1% of all adults of the world. Okay, which is quite a big number. It means there are 56 million millionaires in the world. Okay, and if we have let's say USD 7,552, which is roughly around 30,000 ringgit Malaysia, so it will be so if we have it, we are actually better than half of the population of the world. Okay, a person needed just net assets of just USD 7,552 to be among the wealthiest half of world citizens. Okay, and the richest 10% of adults own 82% of global wealth. So here we can see the wealth inequality, where only 10% uh, population of the world own 82%, means where the 90% of the population only own 18% of the global wealth. So here we can see a great inequality of wealth. And here we can see uh, the wealth by different regions. So that the highest is the North America, which is US and Canada, and in last year they have a change in 10%. Okay, and the second highest is Europe. Okay, where they have their wealth also grown almost 10% in last year in 2020. So these two these two regions, North America and Europe, they actually have around 10% or 12% of the population, but they hold almost 90% of the uh, sorry, it's not nine, it's 2/3 of the wealth of the nation. And then the South Asia, Asia Pacific is also quite fine. They have also 6% growth. However, two countries wealth okay wealth reduced in two regions, which is in India. You can see a 4% deduction, and also in Latin America is 10%. So altogether is 418 million. Okay, so that is the global wealth. So we can see even after the pandemic, okay, in 2020, the global wealth actually increased. That is maybe because the investors they reduce their consumption because they didn't travel, for example, okay, and they save more money to be more cautious. However, those who are uh, the poor in the society, they have suffered a lot because they have lost their income, they got a salary cut. Okay, so maybe um, those people they have suffered a lot, but the people with wealth, or especially the high net worth individuals, their wealth actually increase, that we can know. So that's all on this topic. So with that, I conclude. I thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.